I'm live. Okay, let me just fix my camera so I can be straight. Hi, beautiful people. Thank you for joining me. If you've never been in my YouTube before, I come on every single Wednesday. I come on so that I can record my bonus episode live and direct on YouTube. So I'm going to get ready to record this live if you're watching this on the replay. And if you want to follow my podcast, if you're only following me on YouTube, you can follow my podcast at CelesteThe.com. I'm literally streaming on all social media. I'm streaming on all podcasting platforms. All right, let me just hit record so that we can start recording. All right, hey, beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining another episode of Celeste the Therapist Podcast. My name is Celeste, and I'm a therapist from Boston. If you've never been in here before, thank you so much for being here. We are now in season 3. I think we're at episode 155. I might be lying. It might be a different number, but we're in the 150s. And I come on and I talk to people who are doing things to empower other people on Wednesdays. I record my bonus episode live on YouTube. So if you want to follow me on YouTube, you can do so by finding me at Celeste Therapist. And I talk about issues that we all go through on Wednesdays, and then I kind of bring up solutions and ways in which we can deal with it. The reason why I started this podcast is because I am a therapist. I've been working in the community for over 16 years. I am that old. I've been working in the community for a long time. And I realized how much mental health services is not as accessible. I realized how much miseducation is around our healing process. And so I really wanted to kind of bring a healing platform to your ears in your own home where you can access podcasts and YouTube for free so that you can start to get empowered, and I can help you with planting seeds. So that's my goal, is to help plant seeds and kind of show you a different way of living. So one of the things I'm big on is kind of shifting the way you think, and that's how I'm able to do that, by talking about these issues. So today I want to talk about why understanding your story is so important. One of the books that I'm so obsessed with is The Body Keeps the Score. And that's literally the reason why it's important to understand your story, is because your body will keep the score. Your body does not forget what has happened. And so a lot of times we have gone through different experiences, whether you grew up in a nice household or a traumatic one, whether you've had some hard experiences or some really pleasant experiences. Those things kind of shape who we are. It's not one thing or the other. It's a lot of things that happen, right? And when a lot of negative things take place in our life and it's unprocessed, it's just kind of sitting there inside of us, kind of waiting, and it starts to manifest in different ways. So when I think about children, when children kind of go through different experiences, one thing about children is that they will respond in a behavioral way because they don't have a lot of language to express what they have going on inside. So there's a lot of pent up emotion with no language to say, this is what's wrong. I'm struggling inside. A lot of times kids that have been very traumatized will say things like, I wish I wasn't here. Or it'd be easier if I wasn't here, because they can't think of any other way for life to go on, because there's no middle. They don't see the middle ground. They don't see any solutions. And even though that happens a lot with kids, I see that a lot with adults as well. A lot of times with adults, do not have a pathway to dealing with the things that they have going on inside, don't even have language to when we are not able to really understand our story or want to even go there. There's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of fear attached to kind of accept that I can do something different. It's a foreign concept to your body. It's like a foreign object being introduced to your body. So there's a lot of rejection that's going to take place, which is why I always tell people, do it even when you don't feel like it, because you're never going to feel like making positive changes in your life if you've never been exposed to that type of lifestyle. One thing that happens when we don't know our story is that I feel like we don't understand our purpose. It's hard to really find peace and happiness in life. And a lot of times we're never going to understand our purpose if we don't get to the root of our problem. And that's a struggle that we have. So one of the things that I'm really big on is not just kind of talking about these problems, but I really want to try to be as solution focused as I can when I'm giving you ways in which you can kind of deal with the struggle of how is it that I can move past this fear and understand my story. Because a lot of times, some of the anxiety that we have, some of the struggle that we have is because I truly believe this. You can't tell me otherwise. I truly believe that our mind knows that we don't live to our fullest potential. And so there's a lot of anxiety when we're sitting twiddling our thumbs and not doing what we're capable of doing. I think some of us on a logical level, we know that we can do certain things, but there's something that keeps stopping us, right? Like we have this vision, we may have these goals that we're trying to achieve, and we know that like we can do it, but we can't seem to get out of our own way. The false narratives that are happening, we believe that faulty pattern. And because that faulty pattern just kind of sits in our brain, and if our brain is we stop ourselves from growing. It's like we want to do it, but then we can't. And so it's important to understand, like, how is my story affecting the way that I'm making my movements in life? All right. So one of the things I want to talk about really quick is some solutions. So one thing it's important to is acknowledge your fears. And when I acknowledge my fears, I understand that I can't change what I don't identify. I'm never going to change anything that I can't identify. If I go to the doctor and I'm struggling, maybe like, let's say I'm bleeding and the doctor sends me home like with no diagnosis, I'm going to struggle more because I don't know what's going on. And so a lot of us, let's think about this in a mental health way. A lot of us are struggling. Hear their story for an important reason, because as we are working together, I'm able to help them make connections as to why things are happening the way it's happening. Connections, I think a lot of times we struggle with understanding it. So acknowledge your fears and acknowledge that if you don't start identifying what those fears are and the things that you're struggling with, it's going to be hard to make any changes. Number two, understand what my triggers are. So when I say triggers, things that affect us. So sometimes when we are, let's say when we're younger, we may have gone through a traumatic experience and there was real trauma in that moment. Like we had no way of escaping. We were stuck in that home and that was our life. As an adult, when we're no longer in that home, even though that's not the case, let's just say somebody screamed. And unfortunately, if you don't deal with your trauma, a lot of times as you get older, your body will give you the sensation that you had when you were a child, and it feels like you're back in that environment. And I do want to say, even though people process their trauma and have worked through it, sometimes you can still be triggered, but the effects won't be as strong as they are when it's not processed. So processed trauma and trauma that you've worked through, if you're triggered, you're able to like kind of recognize it and kind of deal with it more effectively and efficiently than if you didn't process it, right? And so sometimes when we're triggered, these behaviors take place, and a lot of the behaviors that you're struggling with, you're probably doing them because of the triggers that are happening. So one way to kind of just really quick to kind of work on those triggers is to the behavior that you're doing. You want to understand the behavior and try to change it. What's happening prior to that behavior? What's happening prior to me, like going on a binging drinking episode, or going on a shopping episode, or sleeping with this person? Like, what am I doing? What am I feeling prior to narratives in your mind? This is like so huge to identify those false narratives. When you start to identify what you're saying to yourself, so a lot of times when I'm working with my clients and they're saying these things, like I can just like pull out the negative stuff that are happening. And people will say these things in my sessions and don't even recognize that they're speaking negative about themselves. And I'm like, wait, what did you just say? And as they repeat it back to themselves, they're like, oh, it's shocking that they say those things to themselves. And I say, the fact that you just said it just kind of casually like that, imagine how much stronger it's happening inside. And when it's inside, it can grow. When you speak it out, you start to analyze it. You start to process it and say, hey, that's not true. That's not the case. This doesn't make any sense, right? But when those faulty thoughts go unchallenged, guess what? They're always going to win. they're always going to feel real. So that's important to understand what are those false narratives and work on reframing them, because you're running from your potential when you're not able to do that. And I think that's something that we have to understand, is that when I am not able to wrap my mind around what's happening, when I am stuck in my head, when I speak negative over myself, when I allow the fear to win, when I allow the emotion to win, I'm going to run away from my potential. And when we run away from our potential, and when the dreams just kind of stay inside, or the goals that we have stay inside, I feel like that's where a lot of anxiety takes place, right? The anxiety takes place because we're not living to the standards of what our mind and our body knows we can be. And so I really hope this was helpful. And I hope this makes sense. One of the things that I'm big on is the last step is understanding that this is a journey. So as I am talking about this stuff, whether you're listening to the podcast on today or another day, I really want you to be clear on the fact that I don't think that anything is an overnight fix. In fact, it's a journey, and it's going to take time to get you to a place where this stuff just is marinated in you, and you're doing it like you're blinking your eye. Because you're not there yet, it's important that you're intentional about making changes. So if you're hearing this today and you're like feeling moved by it, or you're feeling that it's speaking to you, really start to make some steps to making those changes happen in your life, because nobody's going to do it for you. No one's going to be your biggest cheerleader but you. You may have some big cheerleaders in your life. That's great. But for people who don't, you can't wait around for somebody to cheer you on and say like, hey, Celeste, like, yeah, you can do this, right? I say if I waited for somebody to like cheer me on, like I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So you have to work on getting that faith inside. And one of the things I'm big on is like when you have faith and when you start to believe in yourself, like nobody can ever take that away from you. That's a powerful thing to have. Faith is a powerful thing to have. No one can take that away from you. If you want to support me in the podcast, you can do so. You can follow me on social media, follow me on YouTube. You can watch these bonus episodes live on YouTube. And I'm on Instagram. I'm on Periscope, Twitter, Facebook. And I think that's it. If you want the wellness course, that's going to be going out this weekend for free. Send me an email, info@CelesteThe Podcast. I've already gotten a ton of emails about the course. That's going out this weekend. And I have a relationship goals course. You can find that at CelesteTherapist.com. It's a relationship goals course that you can do in the comfort of your own home. And then I have 2 books. I have a guided journal, 365 Days of Intentional Living. And then I have relationship goals as a book and an audio book. And you can find all that stuff at CelesteTherapist.com. And you can also rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And I think that's it. Yes. So thank you guys so much for rocking out with me. I love you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget, May 9th, we're going to be in California. We're going to be in Agoura Hills, which is like right outside of LA. So I'm excited to like meet everybody, and I'm excited to rock out with you guys. If you have a comment, question, or anything, info@CelesteTherapist.com, or you can DM me and on my social media. And until next time, I will talk to you guys later. Okay, I'm finished. All right. Hey, hi. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. Hey, what's up, guys? We are live, but I can't watch the comments and record because then I get messed up. But thank you guys so much for being in here and rocking out with me always. Y'all know I appreciate y'all so much. So make sure if you're not following me on my podcast, follow my podcast. You can follow me on Spotify, iTunes podcasts, Stitcher, literally everywhere. I'm podcasting. I'm streaming everywhere. So you can definitely follow me everywhere. Yes, thank you. I appreciate you. So thank you guys so much. And I'll be back next Wednesday on YouTube. And make sure you share this episode. Make sure you subscribe. Yes, I'm supposed to say that. All right, bye.